And let me be clear, I'm a mountaineer, I'm a skier. The reason I went to Vermont was because of skiing when I was in college, and I know what's happening on the environmental side. We've had several glaciers that have been delisted as glaciers in the West. It is clear that we have a warming climate. It is clear that carbon dioxide is a major contributor to that challenge. There's an urgency to addressing this issue, and it isn't going to be solved only by turning off fossil fuels. So we've looked at, for Wyoming in particular, where we derive quite a bit of our revenue from fossil fuels, how do we prepare ourselves for making sure that we address carbon dioxide as a constituent in the atmosphere, so direct air capture, carbon capture and sequestration, geologic sequestration, all of these things are very much front of mind. And one of my show and tell things is, right now there's kind of coal has a bad name. But as we look at oil and gas, this is done from our university. This is asphalt, which is derived from oil. And asphalt is, because our refining is getting much better and because we're doing renewable fuels now, asphalt's going to become much more of a premium. Obviously very important for roads, and I'm just going to put that up there. This is asphalt derived from coal, which is incredibly abundant in the country. Powder River coal alone could account for about 900 years. This is produced at about a third less, the carbon dioxide. And it actually can be a carbon sink if you incorporate biomass in it, and it has same characteristics. I'll put those up there as just examples of what we can look at. Beyond that, in agriculture, looking at ways that we can sequester by better farming practices, by better grazing management. When I worked for Apache Corporation, which is an oil and gas company, they gave us a ranch to operate, and we improved the range on it, and were able to sequester about 2,640 metric tons just by having a better profile in the soil of carbon. So we're looking very much at that. Forest management also, when you look at forests that are not carefully managed, they're dead, decadent, they tend to be less of a carbon sink. And if they're in wetter climates, they biologically decay. There's methane and other things that are issued as greenhouse gases. If they oxidize, whether it's oxidation over a few seconds as in a forest fire or over a decade, they still off-gas CO2. So being able to do a better job of managing forests, I think, is another piece that we're looking at. So really looking at the entire spectrum of things that we can do to produce reliable, dispatchable energy that people require and need at an affordable cost, at the same time taking direct aim at CO2 in the atmosphere.
So your strategy is to continue to use and promote coal, but to do enough of the other things to offset the impact of that on the environment?
Well, I think, one of the challenges we have is that the climate discussion has really been broken down between climate deniers and those who feel that climate is, the foremost issue of our time. And it really doesn't get much deeper than that. It's we got to turn off fossil, and we're going to turn on renewables, and it'll be great. And so one of my biggest pet peeves is without looking at the honesty of that conversation. So we do think that there's a role for fossil fuels to play. We do think that carbon capture can be brought online. It's been operating really across the northern plains for a number of years. For instance, in North Dakota, Basin Electric had the first carbon capture plant, and it used CO2 to help with enhanced oil recovery. In Wyoming, we have the largest CO2 capture plant in Exxon at Chute Creek. And so those technologies do exist. We're now looking at what we call the Integrated Test Center, which is attached to another Basin Electric dry fork plant. two technologies. One's an amine-based and another one is a membrane-based, which takes less water, ways to capture the carbon and then be able to geologically sequester it. We have tremendous opportunities for sequestration. This doesn't mean the transition needs to not occur. What it does, because I think all of us in Wyoming understand that there's a depletable asset here. We're going to use it and it will deplete. But we need time to be able to engage with other technologies as they come on board. But in the meantime, there are all these other things that we can do. It's carbon. So we make carbon fiber out of natural gas. We can do it out of coal. Coal doesn't have the same volatility as natural gas. So we can make feedstock much better. That's much more appropriately priced and much more stable in price. I think there are tremendous opportunities, too, that we're also looking at in Wyoming. My colleague to the south, Jared Polis, led his issue for Western governors as geothermal, all the potential that we have with geothermal as a carbon offset, too. Ways that we can use nuclear power, small modular nuclear. Wyoming's got the first advanced nuclear modular plant coming online in 2027, we hope, if it gets through all the permitting. And speaking of that, just another pet peeve. It's a nuclear plant in a place that has, with nuclear plants, you have the NRC, you have the Department of Energy, and you also have the Bureau of Land Management. All require separate NEPA analyses. So it's not one, it's not two, it's not three, it's not four, it's 5 or 6 NEPA analyses that have to be done for this plant. Now, one would presume in an efficient way that you would try to incorporate all of these in a larger document that would provide one forum, but we haven't done that in this case.